Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know Benjamin Banneker was a brilliant, self-educated African-American surveyor, mathematician, farmer, and astronomer? Join us as we learn about his written almanacs that provided medical advice, predicted solar eclipses, ocean tides, the weather, and began an era of almanacs for farmers and friends alike.
Okay, let's just jump right in. When you think about getting vital predictions, cutting-edge information, your mind probably goes to satellites, AI, complex data models.
For sure, all the modern tech.
But for centuries in America, the ultimate source of knowledge, the tool that helped people, survive and prosper, was something much more humble.
And yet surprisingly revolutionary. The almanac.
The almanac. It's so easy to just dismiss it as this, old-fashioned little booklet.
Right. But its influence absolutely defined colonial life. I mean, these guides have been around for millennia, tracking stars and seasons. But the American version, that became a cultural touchstone, even a political one.
That's exactly why our mission today is this deep dive into the heart of the American Almanac. It's really a shortcut to understanding how these unassuming books shaped everything.
From science and farming to social justice, even courtroom drama.
Exactly. And we're going to focus on two, I think, foundational and really contrasting examples. The genius of Benjamin Banneker and the institution that is the Old Farmer's Almanac.
And to really set the stage, you have to remember the format was already super popular in the colonies. Benjamin Franklin had already made it a big deal.
With Poor Richard's Almanac.
Right, which ran from 1732 and 1758. Franklin proved these weren't just for farmers. They were profitable mass media. They could deliver data and a bit of wisdom to a really hungry audience.
That context is so important. But Franklin's run ended, relatively quickly. So who was the intellectual giant who stepped into that world and used it for something more?
That brings us to Benjamin Banneker. I mean, what a figure.
Truly. A self-educated surveyor, mathematician, farmer, astronomer.
And one of the very first African Americans to really gain distinction for scientific achievements in the New Republic. He achieved this world-class skill with no formal training, just pure intellect and curiosity.
The story about his early mechanical skill, it's almost hard to believe, especially given the resources he had.
It says everything about his mind. We're talking about a man who, at 22, studies a friend's pocket watch. He takes it apart completely, figures out how it works, and get this, using only a simple pocket knife.
A pocket knife.
A pocket knife. He builds a fully working striking clock and a pocket watch, entirely out of wood.
Out of wood. A striking clock?
Yeah.
That implies just an insane level of detail work, carving those tiny gears.
For months, maybe years, it shows this amazing combination of, mechanical intuition, patience, and just rigorous analytical thought. This wasn't a hobby.
Yeah.
This was a brilliant mind preparing for the highest levels of science, and that translated directly to astronomy.
Right, because astronomy is basically cosmic engineering. His skills weren't just for things on Earth.
Not at all. And the precision you need for a good almanac, he had it. Think about predicting celestial events back then. No computers, nothing.
So what did he do?
Banneker accurately predicted a solar eclipse in 1789.
Wow.
That kind of precision, forecasting an event years out that people across the continent would see, it instantly established him as an authority.
And that expertise is what let him create his own almanacs.
It did. He wrote and published 6 of them annually from 1792 to 1797. This was his great published work.
Tell us about that first one. The title itself says so much.
So the very first one came out on November 25, 1792, George Washington's first term. And the title was The Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia Almanac and Ephemeris.
Let's pause on that last word. Ephemeris. It sounds very technical. What did that signal to his readers?
An ephemeris is basically a table. It gives you the calculated positions of the sun, the moon, the planets at specific times. So by including that word, he was making a promise.
A promise of accuracy.
Of scientific rigor. He was telling readers, my work is based on the most precise astronomical science there is.
And these were more than just star charts, right? They were life guides.
Totally. Complete toolkits.
Yeah.
Banneker's guides had all the essential astronomy tides, eclipses, but also practical advice on farming.
And even medicine?
Yes, crucial knowledge on medicines, medical treatments. The almanac was designed to help you manage your entire year.
But here's the part of his story that is just so profound. He leveraged that scientific credibility for something much bigger.
This is the deepest insight. He was deeply committed to social justice. He didn't just publish tables of data. He used the platform his intellect earned him to actively campaign against slavery.
How did he do that? What was the mechanism?
He wrote letters directly to Thomas Jefferson.
Wow. Talk about a confrontation.
He challenged the hypocrisy of the nation. Here's Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence but also owned slaves. And Banneker, a free black scientist, challenged him on that directly. He argued that his own achievements proved the lie of racial inferiority.
So he was using his mastery of the cosmos to challenge the Enlightenment ideals of a founding father. What was his core argument?
He stated it with such beautiful clarity. He wrote, "The color of the skin is in no way connected with strength of mind or intellectual powers."
He was using his own published, accurate science as proof.
As proof of fundamental equality, it was a profound, brave, and an enduring act. It really reframes the whole idea of publishing an almanac. It became a political document.
Absolutely. Now, here's where the timeline gets really fascinating. While Banneker is publishing this scientific and abolitionist work, in that very same year, 1792, another guide launches.
A parallel guide.
One that would become the American institution we still have today. One that has never, ever stopped printing.
And that's the transition to the Old Farmer's Almanac, the OFA, North America's oldest, most popular reference guide. It's almost unbelievable that its first issue, by Robert B. Thomas, came out in the same year as Banneker's.
The fact that they both started then says so much about the demand for this kind of information in the early republic.
Oh, the demand was immediate. And
Yeah.
it was massive. The OFA sold 3,000 copies right out of the gate.
Which, for the 1790s, with their printing and distribution, that's a huge success.
A monumental success. And it grew exponentially. The very next year, circulation tripled to 9,000. The market was just starved for this kind of organized, predictive wisdom.
And the persistence of the OFA, it's staggering. When you say it hasn't stopped printing, you mean literally.
I mean, it has never missed a single year, not one. Through the War of 1812, the Civil War, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, it just kept coming out.
That continuity is incredible. It speaks to how necessary it was.
It's a testament to its reliability. Even its look became a tradition.
The cover, right.
Exactly. In 1851, an artist named Henry Nichols drew that familiar cover with the four seasons. And that same design has been used on every single edition since then.
So what was the formula? It was the secret sauce that let it survive when so many other publications just vanished.
I think it's because the almanac became, and this is a quote, a family friend to America. Yes, you got the hard data sunrise, sunset tides, astronomy, and of course, long-range weather predictions.
Ah, yes, the famous weather forecasts.
But all of this information was delivered with, and this is key, a pleasant degree of humor.
That humor must have been crucial, especially when the weather forecasts were, shall we say, disputed.
Precisely. The weather information is, as they say, often disputed, but always with a smile. They knew they wouldn't always be right, so the tone was lighthearted. It made the information feel accessible, and it built trust, even when they got a big snowstorm wrong.
It's amazing that this reliable, friendly approach let it survive some really intense historical moments. Let's talk about two of the wildest examples.
Okay.
I want to start with Abraham Lincoln, using the almanac as a courtroom weapon.
This is one of the best stories. It's 1857. Lincoln is a defense lawyer in a murder trial, and the prosecution's star witness claims he saw the murder happen clearly by the light of the moon.
An eyewitness.
Yeah.
So Lincoln challenges that testimony with a book.
He does. He introduces the almanac's records as evidence, and he proves that on the night of the murder, the moon was in its new phase.
Meaning there was no moonlight.
It was darkened in the sky. It certainly wouldn't have been bright enough to see a crime clearly.
So the official printed record of the celestial bodies in the almanac just completely destroyed the witness's testimony.
It did. A reference book won a court case by providing a hard scientific fact. It shows you the level of trust people placed in it.
It was considered evidence. But not every run-in with history was so heroic. What about the time it almost got shut down during wartime?
Ah, the spy controversy. A very strange moment in World War II.
This story is incredible. It shows that even the enemy valued his data.
So in 1942, a copy of the Old Farmer's Almanac is found in the pocket of a captured German spy.
Oh, wow.
And the U.S. government panics. They realize that these widely circulated weather predictions could be providing strategic intelligence to the enemy.
A huge security risk. This common household book is essentially helping the other side.
It caused a massive amount of concern, but in the end, The editor wasn't charged with violating any wartime codes.
Why not? I mean, if a spy found it useful.
Well, because the data, however good it was deemed publicly available information. It wasn't a military secret. But it does show you just how trusted its forecasts were, even in the highest stakes situations.
It survived the spy scandal and just kept growing. And there was that one charming physical detail that really showed its role as a family friend.
You mean the hole in the corner?
A hole in the corner.
For centuries, publishers drilled a hole in the corner so you could hang it from a hook. In the kitchen, in the barn. It was always there, always ready, an essential tool.
And they only stopped doing that in 1990. That's just amazing. And it's still so popular today.
It really is. It peaked around 4 million copies in the 90s, but today there are 4 different editions a year, and circulation is still a strong 3 million. It has stayed relevant.
So let's pull back to the bigger picture. What does all of this, from Banneker science to the OFA's folksy wisdom, mean for us today? It seems to all come back to prediction and preparation.
It absolutely does. And you see that in the fun folklore that's credited to the OFA. These were the early predictive models, before we had weather satellites.
Where are some of those old sayings?
Well, they're all about observation. Things like, the more acorns on the ground, the longer the winter, or the tougher the skin on an onion, the tougher the winter.
I think I've heard that one.
And if swirls build nests high in the trees, winter will be colder.
They're wonderful. They tie human survival right back to the rhythms of the land. But stepping back, what this whole history really represents is this fundamental human need for reliable information, to be prepared.
That is the essential connection. The Almanac was about preparing for the spring thaw, for the high tides, for the seasons. This desire to be forewarned is just universal.
That theme of preparedness, it actually reminds me of a really powerful analogy I read in the source material. Elder Dallin H. Oaks, in a conference in 2004, he suggested that scriptures can be like a modern-day almanac.
It's a profound analogy. The idea is that, like a good almanac, spiritual guides are there to predict, to warn, to counsel us through life's storms. It connects to that promise that if we are prepared, we need not fear.
So this drive for knowledge, whether it's scientific or traditional or spiritual, it's all aimed at the same thing.
Mitigating uncertainty, preparing for what's next. The Almanac was the most trusted tool for facing the future because it blended the facts with perspective and, a smile. It understood we need both data and reassurance.
So after this deep dive, what does it all mean? We've talked about the genius of Benjamin Banneker, building a clock with a pocket knife, predicting eclipses, using his almanac to fight for human rights.
And we've looked at the lasting power of the old farmer's almanac, winning a trial for Lincoln, surviving a spy scandal, and never missing an issue since 1792.
It started as this practical tool for farming and sailing.
But the reason it endured is its ability to blend that hard data, the eclipses, the tides, with humor and local folklore. It was always reliable, but it was never, ever boring.
Which really raises a question for you, the listener. We're just swimming in data today, but which modern sources do you rely on that manage to blend those essential facts with perspective and, maybe a little bit of humor?
And maybe more to the point, how many of those sources that claim to predict our future could honestly say they've never missed a single year of publication? Something to think about the next time you check your weather app. Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the home school for faith and family.